This is one of the most controversial exercises on the internet. 1 in 10 comments whenever I share this exercise are to caution me against doing it. Usually it's from people who haven't come across this exercise yet, they're confusing it with a deadlift and they're telling me it's a wrong way to perform a deadlift. They probably wouldn't dream of rounding their spine on purpose, especially as so many experts claim that the purpose of the core is to resist movement rather than create it. They believe that anti-flexion exercises protect and strengthen your spine, whereas loaded spinal flexion exercises put you at a higher risk of back pain and injury.
The truth is, your body is not a machine and parts don't just wear down with use. Living tissue responds to stressors by adapting to them and getting stronger. The issue isn't lumbar flexion and rotation itself, it's when there is too much stress in lumbar flexion and rotation that the individual hasn't adapted to yet. The issue arises when an individual is deconditioned from this movement. So that simply means that they haven't done this movement for a very long period of time. And say they suddenly load this movement having not even done the movement body weight yet, this can definitely be too much. Another issue is if someone actually is experiencing back pain or has had a recent back injury. This is another instance where this exercise wouldn't be a perfect place to start. That being said, this applies to every exercise and every range of motion when it comes to injury or pain or lack of use. The key to progress is actually the dosage. So what we'd like to do is start where an individual's at. So start at the very beginning and progress all the way up slowly and gradually in a way that your body is able to adapt to that safely. So in this video, we are going to show you the progressions to go from 0 to Jefferson Curl safely. However, please bear in mind that this is not personalized advice and we are not there with you, watching you and seeing if this is adequate for you. So the key is not to push through pain and not to force the stretch.
So the first exercise I'm going to teach you is how to segment with your spine. The Jefferson Curl is a segmentation exercise. You need to be able to roll your spine or round your spine all the way down and then extend all the way up. So segmentation is arguably the most important function to be able to do with your spine to be able to perform the Jefferson Curl. Not being able to segment your spine and trying to do the Jefferson Curl would be like trying to deadlift without being able to hinge at the hips. So the first exercise we're going to do is spinal segmentation in this quadruped position. So Hallie's starting in a neutral position and then she's going to flex from the top of her spine all the way down, one at a time, working her vertebrae all the way down until she gets to her lower back and she's in that full cat stretch position. So fully flexed here. Hallie, I want you to really focus on pulling your belly button up towards the ceiling and trying to push your back up as high as you can. And then from here, what she's going to do is she's just going to extend from the lower spine, working her way up, all the way up, Hallie. And then she's going to end with extending her neck. Now, obviously, this is not the exact movement you're doing when you're doing the Jefferson Curl, but this is going to teach you to control and segment your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. If you're unsure whether you're actually segmenting your spine, then you can film yourself and watch it back. You can also get a partner to help you. How you can do that is you just get your partner to tap on your spine. So I'm tapping on Hallie's neck. So she's going to start by flexing her neck, and I'm working down her thoracic, all the way down to her lower back, and she's just moving and pushing into my finger, and that's just going to help her segment. And it's the same on the way back. So now I'm pushing here, she's going to start extending here, and I'm just working my way up the back, and she's using that as a guide. This exercise is all about practice. You're trying to get good at spinal segmentation. Really, you want to be able to do this and segment quite well before you move on. So you can, when you're doing this in your workout routine, you can do 3 sets of this and do like 1 minute's worth of work and just really try and focus on the movement. It's not so taxing, so you can do quite a lot of practice. You can also use this exercise as a warm-up, a mobility warm-up before doing the Jefferson Curls. But I would recommend that you do master this movement first before moving on to the next progression. So the next exercise is a laying banded sit-up. This is really the first introduction to the movement you're going to be doing when you're doing the Jefferson curl. So we've got a little bit of resistance on the band. That's going to help you on the way up. And then it's also going to add a little bit of resistance when you're coming back down, because you're obviously going to have to pull against that resistance. The band does need to be strong enough to assist you. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to do your body weight and just curl up. It's going to be very difficult. So from here, what Hallie's going to do is she's going to start by tucking her chin, rounding her shoulders forward, flexing her thoracic, flexing all the way down her spine, engaging her core muscles, reaching for her toes. Remember that band is pulling you. You can get a little bit more tension on that band if you need it. And then on the way back, she's basically curling, unraveling the movement that she just done, and then back into that neutral position. So once more, Hallie, chin tuck, curl the spine. The idea with this exercise is to round your spine as much as you can, reach for the toes until you feel that stretch, and then use the band to help you control the movement back down. You kind of pull in against that band all the way down. If you want to take your spinal segmentation further, make it even more challenging, you can use this back sync device. So I've got Hallie lying on this bit of kit. Her pelvis is on the bit that doesn't click, and then the bit that does move, all these individual like vertebrae essentially, they're the bits that move. The audible clicks help you to distinguish which part of your spine you're currently working on. So what we're going to do is Hallie's got them all clicked down. She's got a nice neutral spine, and then she's going to segment up, doing the exact same exercise, but now thinking about each individual click, one at a time. She's not going to rush this movement. So she's going to lift her knees up just so she can get a neutral spine and make sure all of these are clicked in the down position. And then now she's going to flex and come up. That's one. You can hear the audible clicks, really challenging.
This went up. This just proves how hard it is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just focus again. Hold on.
Okay.
There we go. Okay.
That's good. Yeah. Your core burns when you're doing this. It's insane. Yeah, I think you're off,
Okay,
and then you can come back. You can come back down. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're there. Yeah, that's good. And if you wanted to make this extra challenging, then obviously you get rid of the band and you just do it with your body weight. It's really good, by the way. So the next exercise is a banded Jefferson curl push down. This is the first exercise that you're going to be doing in a standing position. The only difference here with a regular Jefferson curl is you've got the band assisting you. So it's controlling some of your weight on the way down. So there's no load involved. And actually the load is something you're pushing into. So you're engaging your core muscles when you're doing this. So it just takes a little bit of a stress off of your spine if this is a movement that you're not familiar with. So Hallie's got the band attached above her. You don't want too strong of a band, otherwise you're not going to get all the way down to the ground. So holding onto the band, Hallie, you're just going to segment. That's it, flex in, and then push into that band. Actually create some compression in your core muscles. Push down, get as low as you can. Okay, once you get to the end, that's your end range of motion. Then she's going to slowly control and just resist the band. Obviously, the band is helping her on the way up, taking some of the load off the spine, but she's resisting the band from just pulling her straight up. So ideally, when you do this, you want to be standing with your legs straight. As straight as possible would be ideal. But if you're getting a lot of tightness in the hamstrings, in the calves, and you can have a slight bend in the knees, that's okay. So now we're adding the resistance band. The good thing about the resistance band is it's adding a lot of load at the top and then the band reduces in resistance as you get to the bottom position, which is where, when you get close to your end range of motion, that's where people have the least strength. So the band's a really good progression rather than just jumping in straight away using dumbbells. Moving on from the resistance bands, the next way to load it is either using a kettlebell or a dumbbell. Exact same movement now, but you add in more load. Obviously, you want to start light and progressively work your way up throughout the weeks, even months. If you find that your range of motion is good and you're getting all the way to the ground and the dumbbells touching the ground, then maybe it's time to increase the range of motion. One way we can increase the range of motion is to just step on some plates. And now we can control that. Just beware that if you were going to the ground and stopping dead on the ground, the load would have been reduced because the dumbbell would have been on the ground. Whereas now you're going to end range, the load's still all in your hands at end range. So, and this is a new range of motion that you haven't yet worked as well. So you're going to be a little bit weaker there. So again, just take this slow, keep it light, progressively load it. If you want to increase the range of motion, but you don't have anything to step on, then you can use like a Zercher grip or just a similar grip to what Hallie's doing here. So Hallie, if you want to demonstrate, now that her arms are not out in front of her, she can still use a lot of range of motion in her spine because she's got her arms curled.
So some people argue that you don't need to load this up very much to get the benefit of the stretching and strengthening. However, it depends on you and what you're doing. So some people who do mixed martial arts or BJJ, they will end up having to have a whole human being at their Jefferson curling at some point. So then there's a good reason to load up progressively if that's what you do. Another thing is if you're a very active individual doing other things where your body mimics this motion, I argue it would be beneficial for you to then. For example, I don't do these kind of sports, but I do a lot of being out and about with my dogs who are heavy. So for me, it makes sense to be able to Jefferson curl at least their body weight. That being said, if you are doing mixed martial arts or different sports or being out and about in nature where you are going to be lifting things in an awkward way, then lateral Jefferson curls are also a handy thing to learn, which are a lot more difficult to do. You again need to regress, go down to a very lightweight, and you are going to be Jefferson curling ever so slightly to one side and then the other side so that you can handle load from different positions. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful, and if you did, please do subscribe. It really helps us out. But please do also remember that this is not personalized advice, and if you're having any difficulties performing these movements or any pain, please do comment below so that we can answer you personally. And you can also get in touch on our website so we could do a full body joint assessment to see where your starting point is.